The herb we've chosen today is French Tarragon, and we've got some fresh herb here, about 1 cup, and I already have 4 cups of cold water in this pan here. Just going to turn up the heat under the pan, and take this and just bend it over. We're going to put it into the water, and what we're going to do is make an infusion. This is just where the herb infuses with the water. Okay, so now I'm just going to bring this to a full rolling boil, turn the heat off, put the lid on, and let it sit there for about 20 minutes. 20 minutes is kind of critical with herbs like tarragon, rosemary, and sage, because if they're infused any longer, they get somewhat bitter. Now, I'll just move this out of the way, and I'd like to bring in, this is an infusion that I made a little earlier today, and you can see it's got a nice bright green color to it. Take my little contraption here, and what we're going to do is just turn it around, and we want to measure 2 3/4 cups of infusion. And it's really important to get the right amount here. And you should be aware that there are more than one type of tarragon on the market. The French tarragon is the one that has a really good flavor. The other variety is called Russian tarragon. You know, there is one other kind of tarragon that actually does have a fairly good flavor, and that's Mexican tarragon. And this is a little plant of it right here. This is the French tarragon I mentioned is a hardy perennial, whereas the Mexican tarragon, called Tagetes lucida, is a tender perennial. So this is actually a tarragon that you can grow inside during the winter on your windowsill. And to this, I'm going to add 1/4 cup of lemon juice. Why lemon juice? Well, what it's going to do, it's going to reduce the sweetness of the final product, and it will also help bring the colors out and make a real sparkle in the jelly. So we add this to our pan. Here we go. Turn up the heat once again. And I'm going to add 1 package of powdered pectin. And I should mention that this is using powdered pectin, and this recipe is not interchangeable with liquid pectin. Put it in. And this is going to come up to a full rolling boil before we go on with our next step. I like to use a whisk at this point. Just helps speed the process up and get the pectin dissolved in the liquid. Okay, now it looks like it's come up to a full rolling boil, and the next step is to add 4 cups of white granulated sugar. Here we go. And the same as before, I'm just going to whisk it in to help dissolve the sugar. And we have to bring this up to a full rolling boil. And it's critical that once it comes to a full boil, that it stays there for 1 minute. Only one other thing that we have to add in here, and this is somewhat important, is just a tiny bit of butter. And what the butter will do is stop the jelly from foaming up and coming over the top of the pan. If you don't want to put dairy into the jelly, you don't have to. Just be a little bit more careful when it comes to the full boil. Okay, just whisk this in a little bit. And we'll just wait a few minutes. It'll take, and this will come up to a boil, and then we can continue on from there. Okay, so now the jelly has boiled for 1 full minute, and I've turned off the heat and allowed it to sit and settle for about 2 to 3 minutes. The reason for this is that any impurities now, we can scrape together to the side of the pan and take them out. There's not too much in this jelly here. In fact, I've let it sit a little bit too long. It's almost starting to set up on me here. Okay, at this point, we have a personal choice. The jelly is finished. But if you want to use some food coloring, and I know some people don't want to use it, but I like it, and it only takes a tiny, tiny drop. So measure it in the cap. Don't pour it out of the bottle. And just a tiny bit in there, just like that. Just give it a little whisk. And you can see it just brings a sparkle into the jelly and gives it a little nice color. Okay, just take my measuring cup, a clean measuring cup, and I'm going to pour some of the jelly in here. Now, on the stove, I've got a pan of boiling water, which I've sterilized the lid in. And I've got the oven on about 200 degrees with a sterilized jar in here. So all we need to do is take the jar out of the oven. And just use my tongs here. This baby's a little hot. Okay, I'm just going to pour this in here. So in addition to the ones I've made today, some of my other favorite jellies are rose geranium from a scented geranium plant, sage, lemon balm, lavender, mint, thyme infused with plum juice, rosemary alone or infused with orange juice, lemon verbena and lime juice, and marjoram and grapefruit. Just like Grandma used to make.